This is the 10 o'clock news on KTVU Fox 2.
The Bay Area's first doses of the coronavirus vaccine have arrived, and tonight we are learning when immunizations will begin.
The vaccines arrived today on campus, and the first vaccines will be administered tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
For many, it's a promising sign of the beginning of the end of the pandemic. Good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Haener.
And I'm Frank Somerville. On the same day that deaths in the United States from coronavirus passed 300,000, frontline healthcare workers began rolling up their sleeves to get their first doses of Pfizer's vaccine. A nurse in Southern California was among the first in the state to get the vaccine. She's been working on the front lines of the pandemic at the Kaiser Permanente LA Medical Center.
What I want you guys to know is that help is on the way. Today's just the first step. Soon more vaccines will be distributed to the frontline workers and our most vulnerable populations. I also want people to know that the vaccine is safe.
Kaiser in LA was one of 4 locations statewide to receive the first batch of doses. Hospitals in San Diego, Eureka, and Zuckerberg San Francisco General also got their shipments today. 24 additional sites are expected to get the vaccine and begin administering them tomorrow. 5 more on Wednesday. Governor Newsom says it's an encouraging step, but there is still a long way to go.
We are in the midst of the worst moment of this pandemic. So today is hopeful and it's reason to be optimistic, but let's be mindful of where we really are.
The governor is continuing to urge people in California, make sure you wear your masks, maintain physical distance with people not living in your household.
Tomorrow morning, vaccinations are set to begin here in the Bay Area. Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital received 2,000 doses today. KTVU's Amber Lee live now in the city with what she's learning about the rollout. Amber.
Julie, as you said, this hospital will start administering the vaccine starting tomorrow morning. Now, tonight I spoke with the head of the ER department about how the rollout will work. 2,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses arrived at Zuckerberg General Hospital Monday, with the first scheduled to be administered to volunteers Tuesday morning.
They will start vaccinating the frontline providers on Wednesday.
Dr. Chris Caldwell, Chief of Emergency Medicine, is among the staff scheduled to be vaccinated Wednesday.
They're going to stagger because we want to not have any one department all get it on the same day. So if there are any reactions, we're not taking out all of the providers.
Caldwell says it's important to instill public confidence in the vaccine.
Be excited about this because we need good news. I mean, this last 4 to 6 weeks have been some of the most difficult of my career.
This is our freezer. As you can tell, it's minus 86-degree freezer.
At Seton Medical Center in Daly City, the director of pharmacy shows us where the 976 doses of vaccine from Pfizer will be kept. They're scheduled to arrive Tuesday.
We have plenty of available storage space.
The hospital CEO tells me first in line will be those who work with COVID patients, including ER and ICU nurses and housekeepers. Vaccinations are scheduled starting Thursday.
Anybody that's in the room with a patient for a prolonged time or in the unit for a prolonged time, they will be a candidate and high risk for receiving the first of the doses.
In the South Bay, Santa Clara County expects its first COVID vaccine shipment Tuesday, saying skilled nursing facilities will get doses Wednesday and hospitals will see them arrive Friday.
We will get the vaccine at in the public health department, and also it will be shipped directly to the various hospitals.
Stanford expects 3,900 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, with plans to start vaccinating Saturday.
People ask a lot of questions, when's my turn? And we say you'll know when your turn comes up because you'll be invited to make an appointment.
Back at San Francisco General, Dr. Caldwell says along with excitement, there is apprehension that people will let their guard down despite this latest surge.
We have to stay diligent about the precautions and take hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel and that this vaccine represents such an important step in that direction.
Alameda County expects its first vaccine shipment as early as tomorrow. Officials say the first doses will go to hospital workers and 911 first responders at the highest risk of exposure. Julie?
Amber Lee reporting live tonight in San Francisco. Amber, thanks.
Bay Area public health authorities and medical providers say that they'll notify people when it's their turn to get a coronavirus vaccine. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar told CNN today that there will be enough shots for 20 million people by the end of this month. The news comes as U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams urged Americans to have confidence in the coronavirus vaccine. He says that he's concerned that many people of color may be reluctant to take the vaccine.
We must now move from vaccines to vaccinations. And it would be a great tragedy if disparities actually worsened because the people who could most benefit from this vaccine won't take it.
The Surgeon General says even with the vaccine, he's urging Americans to follow coronavirus guidelines. That includes social distancing, avoiding travel and gatherings, wearing masks, and washing your hands as often as you can. Pfizer is just the first vaccine coming through the pipeline. Moderna's candidate is next in line. On Thursday, the FDA's Vaccine Advisory Committee will meet to discuss Moderna's candidate and decide whether to recommend emergency use. It was last Thursday that the same committee approved the Pfizer vaccine, and one day later, the FDA granted approval. So if the same timeline holds, Moderna's vaccine could be approved by next Friday, with shipments of doses heading out over the weekend. Moderna says it has nearly 6 million doses ready to ship.
The U.S. has reached a sobering milestone in the number of coronavirus deaths. Today, the national death toll surpassed 300,000, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. More than 1,300 of those deaths were reported in the past 24 hours. The number of new infections is also climbing at an unprecedented rate. There have been more than 16 million cases since the start of this pandemic. Roughly 190,000 people have tested positive in the past 24 hours. In California, there are now more than 21,000 deaths and nearly 1.6 million cases. ICU capacity in the Bay Area is slowly falling. Hospitals are reporting they have just 16.7% of ICU beds available. That is down from 17.6% on Saturday. The Southern California region has just 4.2% capacity. The greater Sacramento region and Northern California region are faring better.
Now to the presidential transition. Today, President-elect Joe Biden officially surpassed the 270 Electoral College votes necessary to win the White House. Electors in all 50 states cast their votes, cementing the results. KTVU's Jana Katsuyama here now with the final count and Joe Biden's remarks. Jana?
Frank, President-elect Biden received 306 Electoral College votes, beating President Trump, who got 232. Today, President-elect Biden gave a speech declaring victory and pledging unity in the country, while President Trump still refuses to concede.
Nearly 6 weeks after Election Day, President-elect Joe Biden gave a victory speech as the Electoral College made his presidential win official.
306 electoral votes is the same number of electoral votes that Donald Trump and Vice President Pence received when they won in 2016.
He dismissed the unproven allegations of fraud that President Trump continues to push, despite recounts in swing states.
The results in Georgia were counted 3 times. Didn't change the outcome. The recount conducted in Wisconsin actually saw our margin grow.
The Biden-Harris ticket won a record 81 million votes, with 7 million more Americans supporting him over President Trump.
I will be president for all Americans. I'll work just as hard for those of you who didn't vote for me as I will for those who did.
Republicans have brought more than 50 legal cases trying to overturn the election results. Supporters of the president over the weekend held a pro-Trump rally in D.C. called Stop the Steal.
We have more than enough time to right the wrong of this fraudulent election result and certify Donald Trump as the winner of the election.
They're heard by more than 80 judges across this country, and in every case, No cause or evidence was found to reverse or question or dispute the results.
When Congress considers the votes on January 6th, it's likely the results will stand.
It would take at least one senator and one member of the House to sign a statement that they said that a particular state or a variety of states had problems, and then to argue that, in fact, there needed to be some scrutiny of what happened in those states.
Henry Brady, dean of the UC Berkeley Goldman School of Public Policy, says a vote by both houses to overturn the election is unlikely.
And it requires that both houses of Congress agree that there's a problem before the votes are rejected in any particular state.
Respecting the will of the people is at the heart of our democracy, even when we find those results hard to accept. But that's the obligation of those who've taken on a sworn duty to uphold the Constitution.
A number of top Republicans parted ways with President Trump today and acknowledged Biden as president-elect. Those include South Dakota Senator John Thune, who's number 2 GOP leader, and Missouri Senator Roy Blunt, who is in charge of the inaugural committee. Republican election officials and the Attorney General Bill Barr have all said that the election was fair and valid.
Jana Katsuyama, live for us tonight. Jana, thank you.
California has the most electoral college votes with 55, and all of those votes went to the Democratic ticket. Our political reporter Greg Lee spoke with 2 Bay Area electors about sending Joe Biden and Kamala Harris over the top.
For Joseph R. Biden of Delaware, a Democrat, ayes 55, noes 0.
California's 55 electors formally cast their votes for the ticket that won the state's popular vote, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The state's votes in the Electoral College pushed President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris past the 270 needed to win.
Beyond words, it was so amazing. I just could not believe that we had that opportunity to be able to cast a historic vote.
Lenise Jones from Oakland was picked by Congresswoman Barbara Lee to be an elector. She took great pride in the role, especially in voting for Harris.
She is the first woman in this highest position in the United States, and it means so much to our next generation and our young people to be able to see that it's so attainable.
Despite the Electoral College vote affirming Biden's win, President Trump continues to refuse to concede. The president and his allies have lost dozens of lawsuits around the country trying to overturn election results, including the Supreme Court rejecting a challenge from the Texas AG. 126 Republicans signed in support of the brief.
How hard is it going to be to deal with these 126 Republicans that signed on to a phony brief that the election was rigged? It's just going to be hell on wheels to try to reach across the aisle.
Biden-elected 93-year-old Pete McCloskey is a former congressman who represented San Mateo County, a Republican turned Democrat. Next in the process, January 6th, when Congress will tally and certify the Electoral College votes. Some Republicans have said they plan to challenge the results, but election law professor Jessica Levinson said a last-ditch effort won't change anything.
Let me be unequivocal. President-elect Biden will be inaugurated on January 20th. I do expect there to be drama and theatrics in early January when Congress certifies the Electoral College results, but I don't expect it to change the outcome.
Nationwide, there were no so-called faithless electors or electors who voted differently than the state's popular vote. Greg Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
U.S. Attorney General William Barr said today that he is going to resign as of next week. President Trump made the announcement on Twitter. He said that the two had a, quote, very nice meeting and that Barr will be leaving just before Christmas. Barr has been one of President Trump's strongest allies, but the president criticized him recently for saying that the Justice Department had found no evidence of election fraud that would change the outcome of the election. A White House official says that Barr was not fired or forced out. Deputy Attorney General Jeff Rosen will take over for Barr.
Still ahead tonight, a North Bay mother describes in detail the attempted kidnapping of her 2 young children. And tonight, police have released a photo of the couple they need help identifying.
And we just dried out, but we've got more rain in the forecast. It's in the 5-day. Back here after the break.
Also, new guidance just released by state officials for youth sports, what it means for resuming school and club leagues.